With the Epic Dash Pass fully out, we can now confirm that the Fully Packed Selector gives you a level 60 hero, 5 fully awakened, as we expected, but it also does give max enhanced skills. So this is pretty interesting. I didn't think they were going to be this generous, honestly, but this changes what you want to do with your selectors, because new players get 6 fully packed selectors and 4 normal ones, while veteran players get 4 fully packed selectors and 4 normal ones. And also, I've previously said that it was 9 total for new players and 7 for existing players, but somebody had a really good question, which was, does this include the one from logging it? No, it does not. So it's actually one more than I previously thought it was. So it's 10 total for new players and 8 total for existing players. First, let's take a look at what newer players should do. I already mentioned this in my Hero Selector tier list video, but this will also apply to anybody who doesn't own all of these units yet. So there's Noctwool, Celine, Roana, Ravi, Bellona, Arya, Elena, Ran, Peyra, and Fumir for your top 10. It says 10 because new players get 6 fully packed selectors and 4 normal ones. So when you're using these selectors, you want to look at the ones that cost the most molas and use it on those in order to save the most resources. Celine, Ravi, Arya, Ran, these 4 are full DPS units. Well, not full DPS, they're damage units, so you build them plus 15. And thus, you'd obviously want to selector these 4. And now you've got a bunch of units that you don't normally plus 15. Bellona's a bit of a weird case because it really depends how much you're investing in her. Yes, she is a damage unit, but she's for PvE, and the ways that you use her, you don't really need her plus 15 in my opinion. Noctwool, you only want 9 molas on her, get the silence on S1 and the -1 turn on S3. Roana, max her S2 for the heal. S3 for -1 turn is also nice. So Noctwool's 9 molas, Roana is 15. And then there's Bellona, who's the weird case. If you're getting just the death break on her S3, that's 6 molas, but if you're maxing her S2 and S3 for damage and rift or something, that's 22. And if you fully max her, that's 33. Elena, you want to max her S2, plus the -1 turn on the S3 is 17 molas. Peyra, stun chance S1, -1 turn S2, and barrier strength on S3 is 20 molas. And then Fumir, max her S2 and -1 turn on S3 is 14. So if we look at these, the most costly ones are potentially Bellona, and then Peyra, and then Elena. So you have 2 fully packed selectors left as a new player, so you'd want to select Peyra for sure. And then depending on how much you plan on investing into Bellona, if you plan on maxing her S2 and her S3, then select her Bellona. If you're just going to get her death break chance, then get Elena, because Elena would be the next most costly after Peyra. And then you're probably not selecting these 10 units exactly, but the same thing applies. Just look through what you're taking and pick the ones that cost the most molas. So that would be what you want to do if you own every unit already, or if you don't own all of these units, and you're going to be picking at least 4 units with your selector. If you are getting to the point where you're somebody who owns a lot more units and you're looking for imprints, then you're going to want to just use your fully packed selectors on the units that you don't own yet, because if you're going to build them eventually, even if it's only a few molas, you'd still be saving molas. So what should you do if you're a veteran player? I wouldn't really recommend doing this stuff unless you own pretty much every unit in the game. At the very least, own every unit that is useful, and potentially some of the ones that have potential to be useful after buffs, like they have good base kits or whatever. But also, SG does rework sometimes, so it's really up to you. Just fair warning that this is something that I wouldn't do unless you have every unit already. So if you're somebody who's super into PvP, there is the option to pick up copies of second copies of some really good units. Like Paladus is a really good unit, and she's got 2 flexible builds, right? She's got her degen build, where you only really need these just for the effect chances. Tanky on Crown. But there's also DPS Paladus, so you could pick up a second Paladus, and she'd instantly be plus 15, and you would save 33 molas, and now have 2 Paladuses that you could build. There's also the other option where, especially if you're somebody who's constantly low on molas, you could look at units that you haven't built yet. Like Araminta's a pretty good unit, and I haven't built her yet. So if I pick her up, I'd save 33 molas that way. The one thing to consider is that this does give you still a dupe. You'd be left over with 1 Araminta. And I already have 5 Aramintas. So my dupe would be for ML Araminta, who I don't think I'm ever going to use. But if you do value Molas a lot, you could sacrifice the imprint there. Not really a sacrifice, just potentially a waste if you never use the extra copy. You also don't even have to look at good units. You could look at bad units, like Teo. Teo, pretty much a meme unit, but he is plus 15 whenever you build him for memes. So he is somebody you could select there if you just want to pick up the units that you think might have potential to be used and you don't want to spend molas. Same thing here as Araminta. I have him SSS, so he doesn't even have an ML form yet, so his extra copy would be completely wasted. But this is something that you could consider if you really do value molas a ton. So then aside from that, there is also the imprinting option. First up with imprints, of course, I'm imprinting my Vildred. 2 more. Don't use your fully packed selector for this, unless it's something like you didn't max your Vildred S1 yet. Vildred S1 is still good value, so you could take the fully packed selector for Vildred if your other fully packed options aren't going to save you more molas overall. Otherwise, just use your normal selectors because my Vildred is plus 15, so I have no reason to feed a plus 15 Vildred or him into a plus 15 Vildred. And then there's also, I have some imprinting regrets with my RGBs. Like, why is my blue Tywin B imprint? This was never needed. But my A Tywin is S imprint, so if I feed my blue Tywin into A Tywin, I hit SSS A Tywin. And then I could take Tywin back with a fully packed selector, and I would get him back in a usable state. There is also the thing where, because A Tywin's not really a unit plus 15, I could just take him back with a normal selector, and especially because he isn't really used, I could just take him back and just have him there and never really build him. It would depend on whether or not the units that you plan on taking would save you more molas overall in the long run, of course. My other options, just to show them, are Blue Shoe. Blue Shoe is an actual plus 15 unit, so pretty good value getting her with a fully packed selector. A imprint, and I could feed her into ML Shoe, which would get ML Shoe into SS imprint. And then my other option, which I'm a little bit less unsure of, is my Fire Lilius. So here my Fire Lilius is the example I was talking about with Vildred, where since she is built as a bruiser now, these last 3 molas are decent value. So I'd get a little bit of value out of that. And she's A imprint, and if I feed her into my Conqueror Lilius, then my Conqueror Lilius would hit SS imprint. So it would basically depend whether or not you think that's valuable or not. But depending on how you want to prioritize your account, you could look at Mola focus, you could look at imprint focus, you could do a little bit of both. The plus 15 is very generous and does change a lot about what we need to do, or what you can do at least, with your imprinting situation. My final picks just aren't set yet. Definitely 2 Vildreds with the normal selectors, probably an Araminta with the fully packed selector, but then I have Shu and Lilius, Tywin, and Fumir, because I don't own Fumir. So I'm probably going to take Fumir with the fully packed selector, because I doubt I'm ever using Tywin. And Tywin's just going to be with the normal one, and I just never build him. But so hopefully this helped anybody who was unsure about what to do with their fully packed selectors, because there's a lot of selectors in this event.